Chapter 3593. At this moment, William's entire line of defense had completely collapsed. He knew very well in his heart that once this kind of thing really went to court, he would definitely be the one to lose, and it would be a crushing defeat. Not to mention the self-written IOU, now in Charlie's hands. As a descendant of the Rothschild family, as well as the fiancée of the Queen of Northern Europe who is about to marry, she will cause a lot of trouble. In card games, the fact of others is enough to self-destruct. What's more, the whole is 3 billion euros plus airplanes. If this spreads, I am afraid that it will become the biggest gambling scam in the world. The family's reputation is really destroying. The most important thing for the royal family and the big European families is reputation. If a member of the royal family, even if he is a prince, as long as he has done something that the royal family is not allowed to do and is made public, the royal family will revoke his royal status and expel him from the palace to protect his face. There was a prince in Great Britain who had been expelled from the royal family. Therefore, if this incident was exposed, William and Olivia's marriage was absolutely impossible. Moreover, once such a shameful thing spread, it would lose the face of the entire Rothschild family. They are a third-order family, usually not noticed by the core members of the Rothschild family. But once such an international scandal broke out, the core members of the Rothschild family would be furious. At that time, the entire William family, I'm afraid, will suffer a catastrophe. In addition, there is one more thing that is terrible. In Europe, gambling is no different from fraud. It should be punished for the crime of fraud. And the amount of William's deception is huge, which is sure to bring down the prison. As soon as she thought of this, she knelt on the ground with a puff, crying and pleading, "Charlie, I was wrong. I shouldn't have tricked you out of 1,000 old. Please take it for the sake of me getting married tomorrow. Give me a break. If I am really stabbed, I will be ruined in my life." Charlie nodded and said casually, "If you're broken, what's that got to do with me?" William knelt on the ground and continued to kowtow, crying and saying, "Charlie, please read that I am only the first offender. Give me another chance. I really know that I was wrong, and I will definitely let the family find a way to help In order to pay this gambling debt, I only ask you to raise your hand and let me go. Charlie smiled and said, "You have to understand one thing. Now the 2 billion you owe me is clearly written in black and white. As long as I go to court to sue you, you have to return it to me. Raise my hand high." Quote. William almost gave up, cried and said, "Mr. Wade, how can you forgive me? How can you not take this matter to court?" Charlie smiled indifferently and said, "This depends on the sincerity of your family." After speaking, he looked at Olivia and said, "Olivia, William's parents should have had a drink with your parents in the banquet hall on the first floor. Now that William has caused such a big thing, first think he is. If you can't finish it, it can take some time." Difficult, and told William's parents to see how the William family would sort this out. Chapter 3594. Olivia would also collapse at this time. He's getting married tomorrow. This has been announced to the world. Tomorrow people all over the country and even all of Europe will pay attention to their wedding ceremony. If such a big scandal broke out of her current fiancé, and she was also arrested by the Justice Department, then her future queen's reputation would be ruined first. So, like William, he said nothing to publicize the matter. So he hastily said to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, please wait a moment, I will go and invite William's parents to come." Quote. After speaking, he dashed out quickly. In the banquet hall at this time, Richard Elliot and George Rothschild pushed the trophy for change. Aman Ramovich, who was slapped by Charlie, has returned to the room angry. His second wife also returned to the first room because she was too drunk. In the banquet hall, these two men were left with drinks for you and me. Both are in a very good mood. After all, tomorrow is a good day for the two children to get married. It won't be long after the wedding Olivia will be able to ascend the throne and become queen. At that time William, as her husband, will also be officially canonized as prince. At that time, William, who had the title of prince, would definitely become famous in the Rothschild family. Perhaps, their entire family would be able to enter the second ladder of the Rothschild family. Just as the two were drinking happily, Olivia ran downstairs quickly, gasping for air, and said, "Dad, Uncle George. You guys go up to the second floor, William is in trouble." Getting into trouble, William's father, George, asked with a surprised expression, "Aren't you guys going to play cards? What trouble can William do?" Olivia was in tears and said, "William was thinking of setting up a game for Charlie, and he joined his friends to make Charlie snitch to beat him, but Charlie Wade got through it, and he lost to Charlie by 2 billion euros. Now Charlie is arguing about going to court." What? George felt dizzy for a moment, and said, "What kind of ambition does he dare to leave for old Mr. Charlie? And that's a big deal. I didn't tell him, don't do it. Did you guys provoke that Wade family name?" Olivia also regretted it and said, "William thought that this thing can be done without realizing it. Not only he can win some money to Charlie, but also have a chance to win Concord Charlou, but he didn't expect that he will lose to Charlie by 2 billion and finally." George almost fainted after hearing this. It goes without saying that 2 billion euros is a huge amount of money. The key is that this incident has led to the current situation. If Charlie really wanted to stab him, then his son would be completely crushed. In Europe, if a person's reputation goes bankrupt, everything about him will go bankrupt. What's more, for such a huge amount of money, I'm afraid I'll be in jail from now on until my 80th birthday. Such a kid, and I can't let him go to jail for anything. Therefore, George immediately realized that the most important thing right now was that there was nothing about this matter that would allow Charlie to poke around this matter. Do everything possible to reconcile with Charlie. So he hastily got up and said, "Take me. I'm going to talk to Charlie." Richard also said nervously, "I'll be with you." Immediately, the two ran to the chess and cards room on the second floor with Olivia. As soon as I entered the room, I saw William, whose arm was broken, kneeling on the ground and crying. But Charlie was standing in front of him with his shoulders folded at this point, with an arrogant look on his face. As soon as George walked in, he didn't dare to care about his son. He rushed to Charlie and said in a low voice, "Master Wade, my godson has nothing to do with this matter. I hope you can forgive me." Charlie asked back, "He is your son but not mine, why should I forgive him so much?" Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for new updates. Thank you very much for watching, keep safe everyone, and God bless you all.